Passing over Grove. We're going to be red balled at North Ocean. We're red balled at North Ocean. Patty's in the left lane. Green light. Crossing over Long Beach Road. I know. Patty's still in the left-hand lane.
You guys want, I can take the eye.
Oh, there's John like that. All right, you can have it, John.
But those of you who are wondering how I came across that recording, it was by accident. The recording is a few years old, and on the day it was recorded, an agent called me to ask me a question. After we hung up, their phone accidentally pocket dialed me. I must have been busy and didn't pick up, and that's how I got the recording. The reason I never posted it is because I didn't want to tip Patty off. Obviously, after listening, you can see the agents were tailing Patty, who at the time was the underboss. Since then, as I've mentioned, several sources have told me he no longer holds that position. And as I've mentioned numerous times, the higher the position, the larger the target. While investigating a specific person, the agents will make like a pyramid, in this case, with Patty on the top. What makes up the remainder of that pyramid is any members and associates he deals with. Let's say, for example, Patty has a gomada, which is a girlfriend, who lives in Danbury, Connecticut. She'll also be part of that pyramid. And much like the game Jenga, they strategically figure out who they can pull to bring the whole thing down. I've had this conversation with agents one time and gave them my personal opinion on how they make cases. When I was done, one of the agents said, "That's very good and exactly what happens." My opinion was as follows. They get a lead on some information, even if it's small and insignificant. But when they follow up and investigate, they learn other things that were unknown to them, which makes them refocus. And one thing leads to another, and they start to build. Unlike the state, the government will build a case for a few years before they get an indictment and arrest people. Their goal and main priority is to get a guy or several people with at least 2 crimes within a 10-year period so that they can be charged with racketeering. A family and its members legally represent an enterprise, as worded in an indictment, a group of individuals associated, operating in ongoing coordination, communication, and efforts to work together, whose members function as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. One of Patty's biggest downfalls is being egotistical. He loved to boost himself by talking about past crimes. For example, when he learned that he was getting the captain's position, he had that conversation with his associates who repeated what he said. Although Patty was not a guy to talk on the phone, when you speak with guys, even ones you consider trustworthy, all it takes is one of them to repeat what you said, and that's where you could run into a problem. Keep in mind, the goal of the agents is to nail somebody committing a crime and then use it as their leverage. All of these guys, the associates and the people the associates deal with, are committing some sort of crime. So often, that low-hanging fruit will bring the tree down. If you listen to the recording, you'll notice that the agents are traveling in a minimum of 2 cars, and possibly more, which makes it very difficult. If you suspect a car is on you, but it turns off, it might put your mind at ease. Meanwhile, the car up ahead picks you up again. People who were never in that life like to throw the word around paranoid, but being paranoid and cautious is how you survive in that life. For instance, one time Ernie Grillo spotted an agent on him, so I met with him one day, and he explained that everything that he had going on, he shut down, even to the point of changing his phone and telling everyone around him to lay low. By Ernie taking these actions, he makes whatever investigation is taking place that much harder. Some people may call that paranoid. I call that being smart. While the FBI investigates Patty, one of the problems he faces is the guys he deals with, because he could be as careful as necessary, but he can't control the way other people act. For example, what they say on the phone or tell others. All it takes is for one of these guys to get himself into a jam, and the FBI will take full advantage of that leverage and approach the guy. They'll bluntly explain that he has 2 options: get indicted and pinched, or start giving information on Patty. Being that Patty wanted to induct businessmen, prison is the last place that these guys want to be or envision themselves. They have a business to run, one that supports their families. So what do you think these people are going to do? Louis Jet Gampiro, who at the time was an associate of Patty, told me a story that he called a meeting with the rest of Patty's associates, which was about 5 or 6 guys. And according to Louis, he felt that everyone was acting reckless. During that meeting, Louis said he exploded on the other guys because they all had their cell phones on them during the meeting. Louis was trying to protect Patty. Meanwhile, he was the guy who Patty abused the most. On a few occasions, the agents mentioned that they had a high-placed source who's close to an administration member. At the time, Patty had his underboss position, and obviously, they didn't reveal to me who that administration member was. So I can't say with certainty that they were speaking about Patty. What I can say is, just by the small hints and tidbits of information they did share, they seemed to know a great deal about Patty. At times, they even followed him to doctor's appointments. And I only know this because I was asked if I knew any other reason Patty would be visiting a medical facility, which I did not. I assumed because of the HIPAA law, they were unable to confirm the nature of his business there. As I mentioned earlier, the government will build the case for years before they actually make any arrest. I would estimate they've been investigating Patty for the past 6 years. Here's a clip of a video highlighting Ted Otto, who was a senior agent for C-17, the Lucchese squad, and is presently retired. Let's watch the clip.
I don't have an artistic atom in my body, but my entire life I've been captivated by images. If you put a stethoscope to the front door of my apartment, twice a day, every day, you'll hear paper tear. And that's me ripping an image out of the Alumni magazine, out of the Financial Times, out of a stolen library book. And that, I look at it and it's just something that catches my eye.
Ted Otto is a legend in organized crime. But more than that, he just is somebody that you pick up the phone whenever you have a question about any of the 5 crime families. He'll just know.
When you're working organized crime, it's public service at a very high order. Every day, I get to work with people that are like brothers and sisters to me.
After speaking with the FBI for the first time in 2018, Ted would call me daily and say, I need my dose of Patty stories. He was locked in on Patty. As the clip depicts, this is a guy who's making collages at home. He not only loved his job was his life. Let me quickly mention the Super Thanks icon found in the 3-dot dropdown and put there for anyone who'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, and thank you. There's a saying I live by, know thy enemy. The agents can tell you what members of the Lucchese family do for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conversely, those Lucchese members can only tell you about a certain agent that they heard in a court proceeding. They know nothing about these guys. In essence, the agents are the nerds who were bullied in school who are now exacting revenge. As C-17 gathers their intelligence and stacks their deck, which, by the way, supposedly, in a courtyard at Quantico, there's an engraved stone with the Twin Towers and the words, "Intelligence matters." So intelligence is a vital part of their investigations. Once the agents feel confident that they have enough evidence, they'll hand everything over to an AUSA who works for either the Eastern or Southern District. As for Patty, he may foolishly believe he has nothing to worry about, being he no longer has an underboss position. However, the crimes he committed while he had that position still apply to him.